Ready?
Yep.
I'd like to call the August 15th, 2016 meeting to order. Tracy, if you would do the invocation, and Mr. Jeffers, if you would lead us in allegiance.
Let us pray. Lord, we come to you today giving thanks for all the blessings that you bestowed upon us. We'd ask that you watch over this board, help them to make the decisions that's best for all the county residents. We'd ask that you be with our troops, our first responders, and our policemen who put their lives on the line each day for us so that we can have these meetings. This we ask in your name. Amen.
We all stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We have on the agenda, we have item number 1 to be removed. Ms. Gibson could not be here today, so we're going to reschedule that for a different time. Is there anything else that needs to be added or deleted? If not, do I hear a motion we accept the agenda as amended?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item number 2. I need a motion to go to open a public hearing to consider revolving loan fund program application by Strickland and Jones Funeral Home. Do I have a motion to go and open a public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Public hearing is now open. Heidi, you wanna?
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. I'll give you a summary of the application and the item before you today for which you're conducting a public hearing. This is a request from Strickland and Jones Funeral Home to access the county's revolving loan fund. As you know, that program was established to help support small businesses in the county, and it's been a number of years since the county has had an applicant. Strickland and Jones Funeral Services is requesting a $50,000 loan to finance the purchase of fixtures, equipment, and furniture for the new funeral home located on Durham Road. They have submitted a complete application, and we also partnered with Roxborough Savings Bank to help provide an assessment of the application and a review of the documentation that they submitted. The conventional financing for a loan such as this would not exceed a 60-month term or approximately 75% of the total cost. And the policy does state that loan terms are to be as short as possible and consistent with the private lender standards. So therefore, the recommendation from the Private Lending Institute was to go with a loan amount of $43,584. The revolving loan fund policy allows the Board of Commissioners to negotiate the terms of the loan and the amount, so you really have the flexibility to decide how much you want to fund and for the length of term. The maximum term is 10 years, and then the interest rate, according to the policy, is half of prime, which would be 1.75%. I believe that the applicant is available and has signed up to speak, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. So we're asking you today to conduct the public hearing and then direct staff to either move forward if that's your desire, and if so, we would need to do a security agreement for some collateral, and we move forward with a promissory note and some closing documentation, if that's the will of the board.
All right. Is anybody here for or against? Anybody want to speak? Robin?
Mr. Jones was the only person signing up to
Okay.
speak.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I'd like to thank y'all for considering us for the revolving loan. As we did, we went through the application with Heidi, and my understanding was we needed to prove that we had up to the $50,000, because that's what we were requesting for the loan, was the $50,000. So the documents I gave her was well over the 50, because they used a percentage, which we didn't know. But I do have plenty other documentation where we have to buy signs, landscape, a lot of other things, vehicles which all qualify for the revolving loan that we did not submit because we didn't realize that. So as we would request that y'all would consider the 50,000, of course, if 10 years would help us a lot to get on our feet. We really feel like this is going to be an asset to Roxborough and Person County. If you hadn't seen it, I think you've ridden by there, and we've invested a lot of our time and money. We would just like the county to help us to get on our feet, to get us started. So any consideration would be appreciated.
Any questions of Mr. Jones?
What was the collateral that was gonna be used?
The bank has suggested the only collateral we could secure would be the purchases that he had given us an itemized list for with this money.
Okay.
So the fixtures, furniture, we would do a security agreement for that.
Now, you determined the value of that property by appraisal or by using tax value?
What he has submitted is basically his receipts, an itemized list of what he would be purchasing.
Okay.
Isn't it written into the revolving loan fund that if the applicant fails to meet the obligations, that we could put a lien against the properties as well as the assets that were purchased?
Yes, it is written into that. We would be secondary to the other loans that he has.
Mr. Jones, given that you're asking for public dollars to help finance this, would you be open to all residents of Person County?
Sure.
It was one concern for me on number 6 on your application. And it is a public application, and so I know I'll probably be getting that question, so I wanted to make sure I got it
And
clear
I
from
may
you
have
first.
answered wrong, but we can look at it. I'll be glad to. Yeah, it's open to everybody. Definitely.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Robert.
All right, thank y'all.
Anybody else that wants to speak that didn't sign up but wants to? If not, do I have a motion to come out of public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve a loan application of $50,000 at 120 months.
Any discussion on that item?
Yeah, I think we do a lot of work with larger businesses here in the county and provide incentives to help those large businesses stay here and employ people, and I think we should do the same thing with our small business. I was a little bit misinformed or didn't understand that when we took the money out of the SBA, I really thought we were dissolving the fund, but since the fund's there, I agree that until we make changes that we should continue to utilize it when asked. But I would like to make a point that as soon as this loan is completed, that the board go back in, make a determination on how much we're going to put into the fund, because if the fund's going to be there, we need to make it viable and have assets in it to give out. I think we also need to look at the terms, and I think we also need to look at the interest rate. If the county is going to use taxpayer money at half of prime, then I think that's a little bit low for return for our residents. But I'd like to go along with Kyle and say that we approve this, but after we finish this approval process on this loan, that we look at the terms before we approve another.
You want to make that as a substitute motion?
I amend my motion to include that.
Okay.
I agree, but I also agree that we rated the fund for a good purpose, being our volunteer fire departments and their capital needs.
Right.
And I personally feel that the county is in a good financial position to fund both, to continue to support our volunteer fire departments and their capital needs, as well as our small businesses.
I don't have a problem with that as long as we don't go borrow money at 3% and loan it out at 1.5%. And the way that's structured,
What-
this could very easily happen, so.
Well, I want to point out to you that when this loan fund was implemented, I probably was the only one on the board when it was done, but when it was done, interest rates were probably 8 or 9%, so when you looked
Yeah,
at
I
half of
understand
it,
that,
you were
but,
paying
you know,
4
it
and
hadn't
5,
been
so that if you
updated.
want to go back, I agree, I think we need to go back and look at it and see if we need to keep doing it with the interest rates where they are.
Okay.
But when it was originally done, it did have it was a good reason for doing it at that time, because it was very restrictive on some people, just paying the interest, much more paying the principal back.
All right, any more discussion? Everybody understand the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All righty. We have 10 minutes set aside for informal comments. We have 2 people to talk. Francis Blaylock, if you would come forward, please.
Francis Blaylock, 1504 Solomont-Tosa Road. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
First of all, I'd like to make an announcement. PC Pride is co-sponsoring a campaign forum with C&P Siding and Pack Contractors, which is Paul and Chandler Hare. This is going to be held at the Festival House. You need to mark your calendar. On October 6th at 6 p.m. We are extending an invitation to the 3 of you seeking re-election, as well as Donna Long and Mr. Gordon Powell, who's here today. You will each receive a list of questions so you can give us your best thought-out answers. Once again, that's October 6th at 6 p.m. at the Festival House. Now, I see on your agenda there's a request for proposals for countywide convenience centers. Are you planning to put local businesses like Clayton and Hurdle out of business? Convenience centers will cost the county huge sums of money to build and to man. We are currently disposing of our recyclables and our trash without any county involvement except to support the recycle center. So it's interesting to see who is asking for this anyway. If you think this is a way to appease us, then you're badly mistaken. You need to stop diverting attention away from the landfill. We know, Republic. We know they'll tie the county's hand with a contract that has no loopholes, and then they'll run rampant over us. When you open this door, they will surely make sure that you can't close it. Please give the county some way to change bad practices. Person County trash is not the issue. We are concerned about the thousands of toxic tons coming across the Person County borders every day, and we are concerned about our quality of life. Just remember the golden rule that you should do unto others as you want done unto you. Would you be willing to do what you're going to inflict on us? It is interesting to see what you have created behind closed doors for the citizens of 158, and we hope that we can weigh in with any changes that might be needed. If in the end we lose the garbage war, we will have to revert to playing the money game. We will be asking that all the monies gained from the landfill be put into a special fund to take care of the problems that you will surely be creating and unleashing on the citizens in 158. You've already heard a list of the requests, I think, that we would want to use some of this, I call it dirty money for. And it should be used to improve the quality of life of the people that are being made to sacrifice. We know that Duke Energy will be having to run water to the coal ash people, and you will be paying for water lines or for the remediation of contaminated wells in the landfill area on one day. Now, Mr. Newell, I see that you're planning to hold a public hearing at 9 a.m. in the morning. This is totally ridiculous. I'm sure Republic suggested this to you to limit the number of people who will attend, so I'm asking that you change this to a night meeting to allow working citizens a chance to be heard on an issue as important as this. In closing, we, meaning PC Pride, will have to take a stand if you make an unacceptable decision. We have contacted our lawyer, and you will be receiving a letter of intent to challenge if you make a pro-landfill decision. We request that you not take us down this road again, but rather choose another option.
Betty Blue.
And that's Betty Blaylock, okay? It comes from the Scottish Blaylock, okay, so it's Blaylock. I don't know why I'm surprised, Mr. Newell. Excuse me, I'm Betty Blaylock. I live on Terza Ridge in Rougemont, which is the landfill borders, their land borders my land, okay? I don't know why I'm surprised, Mr. Newell, that you are bringing this up so soon after you've negotiated totally in secret without knowledge, but we're not stupid. And you affecting the lives of so many people. Now, I should have brought some cotton balls because some of you have never listened to anything I said, so I should have brought that so you wouldn't have to at least hear the drone. So many people in this county, you are trying to put 3 businesses, maybe 4, out of business. They're small businesses. You're trying to put them out of business. We know what you're doing. By the way, another person, not old, on Geonoka Road, was rushed to the hospital with congestive heart failure. 3 in his family have died of cancer. Geonoka Road, that's that road. But don't tell the health department because they'll put something in the paper to deny it, okay? Now, here is a record of a public hearing in 1999. You'd be surprised what's in here. Over and over and over and over again. It's really thick. It'll only be here 20 years. Well, guess what? 20 years is up. And the commissioners on this board said it will be gone. It will be gone. All that'll be in it is leftover banana sandwiches, the chairman of the board said. That's all that's in it. Oh, dear God, how much else is in it besides leftover banana sandwiches? In fact, you don't put leftover food in landfill, in the garbage. And now, doesn't come as a shock how many wrongdoings or infractions that the Republic has had, no matter what they print. They printed that, so we went to Raleigh several years ago, and we found 13 infractions in just a few years. Now, they admonished them and said they had to abide by this thing said they had to abide by the contract, which they found out they had not. In fact, the chairman of the board at that time heard when we told them they were putting asbestos in it. Now, I'm not saying it's not allowed, but he almost came up out of his chair and said, well, they weren't supposed to do that. I thought, man, can't be that ignorant. I don't want to say too much because the man's dead. They were told they had to abide by the contract. All through here, they say, it'll be gone, it'll be gone. Then the other counties, which was in agreement, would take their turns. Well, guess what? Granville wants to take their turn. They've done it, they've spent the money. But you know what Republic has done, and Mr. Newell? When you told me recently that you thought that the city of Oxford, the Republic went to them and Creedmoor and said they would take the garbage for less than the own Granville County. You said that was good business. That should have told me what kind of business person you are. So please don't please tell me your business so I'll make sure I don't do any with them. Now, you also voted to have a public hearing in the morning. Now, I think, pretty sure they voted against that when the next time they came back for more, okay? This is an email I got from the DEQ, or DINA, as we used to know it. He said, your message was forwarded to me, Ms. Blaylock. I wanted to let you know that we are working to get more on this matter. I've been out of the office. Now, this was about the PCBs, and you know how we found out about that? We found out by a Raleigh newspaper that somebody knows about us and mailed it to us. And so when I called him, he said, I'm out of town, but I'll call you when I get back. And he couldn't get me by cell. We don't have cell service down there, by the way. Unless we get up on top of the hill or on the back steps and go up there, okay? He called me back and said that PCBs were put in there without their approval. And he said, now I said, what are you going to do about it? He said, all we can do is find them. He said, and we have many times. And we went to Raleigh and found out where they found, even though there was quoting that they didn't have anything against them. Well, that was a lie. And he said, but your county commissioners can do something. The contract is with them. County can do something about it. So the bottom line is the bottom dollar. Now, I should have known about that this would happen. And by the way, either you, the county, or Republic owes, excuse me, I hope I don't get choked up at this, Florpede $10,000 just for the actual thing she's paid to get the arsenic out of her well, in big new wells. And the county person told me after they left out of here one time and said, I said, why did you say there was nothing in there? You made her close. He said, I know. I was standing there with the county making them do it, close the well. And she still has to have a system. Her husband's dead. We can't bring her husband back, but you owe her that money. Somebody owes her that money. She's retired. She's an elderly lady, and she has to pay over $400 now a year to get it redone, or filters or whatever they do. Her neighbor has lost 2 husbands to cancer in the last 10 years. So your little chick spokesperson for the Republican Party has called us liars when we've given you facts in the paper, and said that many wells have been tested and there's no thing. Well, that's a lie. They have not tested one single private well except for one that we won't talk about because her husband got cancer, and they supposedly paid them, but I don't know that that's true. I'm just telling you what was said. So that's the only well I know that could possibly have been. Nobody else has been tested. There are about 5 African-American families on the opposite side. They haven't. Becky Duke has continuous problems. One of the water she got to do outside stuff from a spring, that's closed now. It's not there. We've had a lot of rain this year, still no water. So I'm glad to know that this little spokesperson said that. She also is the one who said that at the coal ash that arsenic was in the water, was in the stone, and cauliflower and things like that. Well, you think we're ignorant? Everybody knows that every element that was here in the beginning is still here somewhere. Every element. There's nothing here that wasn't here to start with. I don't want to be drinking all of it though. So I'll tell you what I've done. I've quit striking the rock to get my water. If you allow this company to build a cell on the hill, which Duhan told me that they were going to do, and I told him he didn't have permission. He said I didn't know anything about building a landfill. I told him I probably knew more than he did. It's right in line with my well, and it's not very far away, just right over there. It was right in line with my son's well, my sister's well, my niece's well, my 2 nephews' wells. It's right in line. This was a big family, not big, excuse me. It was a family farm, and when my dad left it, some to each of us, okay? Some across the road, but still close by. And some of them can't afford to dig a new well. And you say you can bring it from Roxboro. Yarborough told me that one time. And who's going to pay for it? The people down there. There's nobody moving in, just families with that. Some of them can't. The lawyer who had to dealt with the landfill, was associated with them in the beginning, was quoted as saying that was the worst possible thing that Person County had ever done, was to bring that company in here. And we are being forced to use our money to fight you instead of using it to do good things. And we are nonprofit. We're actually a very conservative organization. There's not a single person on there. It's not super conservative. But you know what? We like to breathe. We like to drink good water. We are being forced to use our money to fight you instead of we along with the Retired Teachers Association bought bins, recycling bins for all the schools in this county. That's what we used our money for when we didn't have to fight this God-forsaken company that is poisoning us. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. But laying down in front of the trucks is a possibility. I don't know that that'll help anybody. It might bring national attention to what you're doing to us. If you do that, I don't know what. One more thing. I've got lots of articles here, okay? But here's what the state of North Carolina, and it's apparently rampant now in this county board. It was in the last. that board when they put it here. This is what happened at the coal ash. You remember when they said they got a letter not to drink the water, and then they got a letter to drink the water. Well, guess what? In a deposed hearing, the toxicologist, they had asked him to change his letter so that it looked okay and what didn't look so bad. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. He said, I can't do that. It's not right. And so they sent the letter out over his name, but he didn't sign any of them. So when he found out that happened, that they'd been told, he began calling people on the phone, hundreds of calls, to tell those people your water has that chromium in it, and it's way high levels. You cannot drink it. And so that was the reason they got this strange letter right after, and that's been deposition. And so if they fire him now, he can sue them for lots of money probably. It still won't help the people, but at least it brought it to light. So I don't know what's happening since the Republican Congress and, the senators and representatives. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I don't trust DEQ after this. The health department did that over the toxicologist, sent the letter out. So he had to resort to calling people. You have no idea what all this company has done. And the little 2 things they've done in Louisiana that they got little medals for is not very impressive, okay? I can tell you many, such as the one that's been on fire in Missouri for about 6 or 7 years now. And we know they bring stuff. So they were threatened one time with a $5,000, that's before Duhon came, okay? $5,000 a day fine for accepting non-acceptable materials, toxic materials. So please consider the people of Person County, whom you're supposed to represent, not have Republic tell you what you can do like they did one other time and tried to, in fact, put it on the agenda. Had the nerve to even put it on the agenda. They were the ones that did it. I like that, don't you? I didn't vote for them, and several of you I didn't vote for either.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, item number 4. Everybody got a chance to look at the consent agenda?
Move for approval.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Yes, ma'am, I am asking for a RFP for countywide convenience centers, just so that we can see what that involves. There's nothing says we got to proceed with it, but until we know what we're talking about, I feel it's prudent to at least ask the question. And that's the reason that request is there. Is there any discussion on that?
I'd like to know exactly what you're looking for. We didn't have anything in the packet about it, just an item on here for request for proposal for convenience centers. I mean, who do you want it from, and who are you getting it from, and what do you want included in it? How many centers are you looking at? I mean, I don't have any more know about it than anybody sitting out there does, frankly. So, what are you asking for?
Well, what I'm looking to do is to educate us on the possibility of it. Is it something we want, or is it something we don't want? Is it beneficial for the citizens? Is it not beneficial for the citizens? And until we, the RFP can be written up to ask for anything you want to ask for. It was my first inclination that we asked for 3 centers spread out around the county. You've already got one at the landfill, so you would wind up with 4. And, I'm not sold on them either, but I do think it's prudent to ask the question.
Jimmy, one of the things that we've been asked to do is to provide more recycling for the county. So the convenience centers would be, as the word describes, a more convenient location than just having one center like our recycle center here. so the residents of the county would be able to drop things off at those locations, as well as a bag and toss for your garbage. So there's a lot of things, like the chairman said, that we could ask for. Going out for bid, you can look at corporations or companies running your facility, or you can look at the county. And one of the things that I would like to see is, once the RFP comes back, see what the proposals were from the RFP, and then see if we could utilize our PI clients to staff and run these facilities and use the revenues that we get off the commodities at the convenience centers to help offset the cost of some of the operations of PI too. So it may be one of those situations where the county provides the property, the materials, the equipment, and we ask PI to run them and to help supplement their cost. So it's not necessarily for an outside corporation. It's to look at all of the options that we have.
You already fussed about the cost of personal industries. And
That's why you would want the commodities to help offset the cost.
I understand what you're saying, but when you do convenience sites, I suspect that if you go and check with most places that have done that you're probably going to cost you more. I'm not saying I'm opposed to that. If you're going to keep personal industries employees, people with disabilities are my first priority in this. I'm all for the recycling, but I'm first for the people with disabilities having something to do, and that's why we're in the recycling business right now. It's not because because we couldn't find anything else for them to do, frankly, and so that's where it went to. I mean, we had a company there that we're doing quite well with, but a lot of them went overseas, like a lot of other things. So, and if the intent is to keep something for them to do, then, I don't have a problem with you looking at it, but I got a problem with you looking at it if I think it's a backdoor way to try to get rid of personal industries and group in recycling. We've got people out there that need something to do, and right now they've got something to do, and I realize that we're putting a certain amount of money in that, but we're not putting anywhere near what we could be putting, and I think this, you may be, I just want to forewarn you, you may be putting more in it than you're putting now if you do it this way. But I understand that people up in the other corners of the county will probably have a interest in somewhere to go with it, but I really didn't know what was being proposed.
Well, the concern I had was, being there, nothing in abstract. Here I am sitting in a meeting last week with several commissioners from across the state, including our neighbors, Castle County and stuff, who have convenience centers, and I can't compare any information. I can't do my homework before the meeting because I don't know what this means. All I see it is on the agenda, so I don't know if a motion is going to be asked today. I don't know if we're looking for county-run centers to do recycling, to do garbage, that citizens have to pay to go towards, or whatnot. And I would have liked to have seen that, so I could possibly have done some homework before coming here and being asked to vote on supporting it. And then here we are in our discussion talking about what it would be for. Well, I hope in the motion that it will be defined as what are we asking? Are we looking for convenience centers that's going to accept recycling? Are we looking for convenience centers that's someone to operate one that's going to do recycling and garbage? Or is it going to be paid? Are we going to look at counties our size across the state? Are we going to look at our neighbors? I mean, I would have liked to have seen all of that before being asked to vote on something. I mean, I think we all try our best to do our due diligence before we say yay or nay on something up here. And I don't feel like I had the opportunity to do that.
Well, I'll say this. If a commissioner has something he wants to put on the agenda, he has the opportunity to do so, just as we do. There have been many times on this board that stuff was not ever placed on the agenda, and it was added at the last minute during the meeting with no knowledge from board members. I can understand where you're coming from, but I can also say at least it was added to the agenda and it wasn't put on at the last minute with no knowledge.
I would disagree in the fact that those were items that did not require probably as much detail as this should have been.
Oh, they required a lot more detail,
You're requesting,
especially economic development.
You're requesting, we're talking discussion on what we want to do. We still don't know what, I still don't know what the motion
Well,
is going to be. I still don't know what you're going to ask for, you know, in this RFP. So, I mean,
Well, my motion would be for Civil and whoever else needs to be involved to come up with an RFP that will come back and educate us to the point where, you know, we don't know what to ask for right now. We could do all the homework we want to, at least, you know, until we have a better understanding as to what they offer. You know, they're gonna come back with an RFP and we're probably not gonna agree with it. We certainly would change it, I would think.
I would ask the cost factors, do a study of cost factors of surrounding counties, counties our size, that provide that service. Look into strategic locations, preferably 3, in the other, in the 4 quadrants of the county.
Is that a motion?
I'll put that in form of a motion. And also look at how this is, do they charge a fee? I know some counties have a sticker that they put on their car, and because they're a taxpayer, they're allowed to come in. And so I would look at how that is paid for as well.
Clarifying, are you all looking for a consultant to advise us on what our options are? Are you looking for a private company that sets up convenience centers who would come in and do
I
sort
would
of a
say-
turnkey approach
I would start with Civil, let her do some homework before we go spend any money on it. She can get a comparison,
of costs?
comparable place.
I will work with Smith Gardner to collect some information that some of the questions you have requested.
so that's a consultant. Is it going to cost us, or is it already costing us?
Well, we have funding left in that account. We have not spent all the funds that were allocated for the original study.
Did that contract involve, didn't it involve some convenience centers?
He has done some research on those items, and it did involve, you know, the option of adding, you know, additional research. So it's within the scope of the contract.
So bring back a study, and based on that, then we issue an RFP? Is that what you would like first?
Well, that'd be a good way to start. but,
Okay.
yeah. All right. We can vote on it.
Point of order, there's a motion on the floor.
Okay. You want to repeat your motion just so we know what we're talking about?
I'll let the clerk repeat what she has.
Okay.
Make sure we're all on board.
Commissioner Puryear has requested that a cost comparison be done with counties of similar size with strategies involving adding convenience centers to the quadrants of the county, 3, and the associated fees for paying for such services. And then it sounds like that discussion has added that they would like this brought back to the board following some information collected by our consultant through Civil Tate to bring back to the board for review
Okay.
prior to our RFP being released.
Does that say what you want to say?
That's fine with me.
All right. All in favor of the motion, say aye. All opposed?
No.
Ayes have it. All right, item number 6, solid waste franchise public announcement. What we would like to do is announce what negotiations, I guess, Heidi, you want to elaborate on this and get the language right?
Sure. What we're asking for from the commissioners is to order the publication of a public notice, which would schedule a public hearing as part of the process towards the ordinance being negotiated. So according to the state law, you have to publish the public announcement 30 days ahead of a public hearing. And then it also requires 2 readings of the proposed ordinance. So in your packet, we have a schedule of events for you. Today, of course, would be to call for the public hearing. We would then begin advertising in the paper starting on Wednesday to provide the 30-day notice of the public hearing. The public hearing would then be conducted at your September 19th meeting. And then following that, you would have a first reading at your regular scheduled board meeting on October 3rd, and a second reading at the next regular scheduled board meeting on October 17th.
Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
make a motion to approve to advertise for a public hearing date on September 19, 2016 at our regular scheduled board meeting.
All right,
I'll offer a substitute motion, not because I'm in favor of this, but because I think it was Commissioner Perrier himself a few years ago that suggested that we have all public hearings in the afternoon or in the evening at our evening, so people from the public who work could have an opportunity to attend. So I'm going to offer a substitute motion for the public hearing date for September 19th, 2016 at 7 p.m.
all right. We got to vote on yours first.
No, we vote on his first.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to move the public hearing from 9 o'clock in the morning to, we want to move the whole meeting or just the public hearing?
A public hearing.
Okay. All right, move the public hearing from 9 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
Okay.
May I get a clarification, please, on that?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Mm-hmm.
I want to make a point that I voted to move this public hearing from the morning to the night. It does not mean that I'm in favor of the public hearing. It's just that I was opposed to the time, so I want to make that quite clear
Well,
as a matter of public record.
I think that has been decided now. So we, all right, is that all we need on that item?
Location of that public hearing. Chairman Newell, would you like to set the location of that public hearing to be held in our county auditorium?
Yes. Mhm.
Could someone make a motion?
I make a motion to it. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Let's take care of that.
Yes, sir.
All right, Sybil, you could help us with broadband RFP?
Good morning. At your last meeting, we discussed the options for broadband, and you chose option 1, which included building fiber to our government assets. And so we have developed a draft of the RFP, and you'll see that in your packet. We're still working on pieces of it, but the bones are there. So I have, again, Joe Ferdoso here this morning to answer any questions that you might have about the RFP, and we are set to release it on the 25th. So.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I can give you some highlights, probably a couple minutes worth, and then feel free to open it up to any questions. But the RFP was included in your packet, I believe, that was sent out last Wednesday. It covers the 3 main areas that we chatted about on August 1st. The first was looking at the underserved areas of the counties and laying out options for a private sector vendor to propose how they would reach the underserved area of the counties with broadband service. Second, it talked about enhanced service for your key economic corridors. So the maps in the RFP that had the green lines going up and down kind of the key roads in the county. And then third, it outlined again the fiber build proposal for the county that goes along those same corridors, those same key corridors that would serve county offices and also maybe serve as an asset incentive to bring better broadband service to the county. There is some detail in the options for private sector service providers to bid. For example, in the underserved areas, you all have mentioned for a long period of time in the previous RFP that was sent out that we consider wireless services in those areas to begin with. Those are well outlined in the RFP. For the areas of the key economic corridors, we put pretty detailed build specifications in the RFP, giving the vendors who respond to this some options for different builds, but also to collaborate to potentially build with enhanced service in the county. I will tell you that post-meeting, this is garnering some interest from private sector service providers. Been contacted by a couple of folks that saw the presentation on the 1st, and that's always a good sign. So even before anything's out on the street, we're starting to get inquiry about what the county is going to do. They like the solution. We've actually heard that these assets could be attractive if they were out on the market to attract some responses to the RFP. But it's fairly comprehensive. As Sybil said, we are still putting some final touches on it. Example of that would be we plan to meet with Piedmont Electric Membership Cooperative between now and the release of the RFP to check on polls and if there might be some ways to utilize polls as part of the assets that we present. So again, we feel it's comprehensive and again would like some blessing to move forward with issuing it on the 25th.
I spoke with a vendor or consultant last week, and I haven't followed up with him yet. He's out of the Charlotte area. He led me to believe that there may be a, hope I'm getting our conversation correct, that maybe some grant funds or something through the FCC maybe, or some federal agency to help with this.
Yeah, there are probably 2 or 3 sources of federal funding, Commissioner Jeffers. Your school district today takes advantage of a Universal Service Fund program called E-Rate that provides reimbursement for their connectivity to the schools. Right now, the school system in Person County has a 3-year contract with Charter that delivers fiber-based service to all your elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools in the district. And the federal government pays it's a fully managed lit service. So Charter provides the equipment, they have built the infrastructure, and they provide the service and all the technical support. And that Universal Service Fund provides, I think it's 80% reimbursement for that. There are also 3 other federal programs under Universal Service that are one is a subsidy program to the carriers that is supposed to bring broadband out into underserved areas. CenturyLink has accepted funding for Person County to bring service to unserved and underserved areas of the county for the next 5 years. One of the things that we've suggested is that we closely monitor CenturyLink's progress in bringing that service to unserved and underserved areas. And in a perfect world, they may also take the county incentive and add to that so that they could bring even more enhanced service to those areas. Another program of universal service that the FCC oversees is the Rural Health Care Program. That reimburses 65% of connectivity costs to nonprofit hospitals, county health agencies, county-free clinics in a county. And then the fourth program, the final program, actually is a $9.95 subsidy per month for folks that are on other forms of public assistance for their broadband service. And that can be taken advantage of by the carriers, particularly in your underserved areas. It gives folks kind of a leg up where they can apply for this funding. And it's just switched from basic telephony service to broadband service this year. The FCC just passed that. So that's 4 programs. There are also some grants and low-interest loans available through the United States Department of Agriculture. And all of those things are part of what we should look at as we look at these RFPs. A lot of those are driven by having a private sector company come in and propose to provide service, and then using the grant funds as part of that to help them defray some of their costs and also enhance the service that's there. So we're pretty familiar with the federal programs. So
And yeah, they also said that some of those funds hadn't been claimed, that it might be some, and some
Yeah,
of
the
those.
rural healthcare actually is about a $400 million a year program, Commissioner Clayton, and it only distributes about $200 million a year in reimbursements, so that's a good one. E-rate is fully subscribed. Schools and libraries across the country utilize the $3.9 billion that are in the program pretty well. The Lifeline program is one that it would probably be wise right now to talk to Human Services in Person County about the Lifeline program and the changes to let people know about that, particularly those on public assistance. And the money on the Connect America Fund, which is what CenturyLink and Frontier have taken for the county, is usually fully subscribed. So the healthcare program is one that we might be able to work on.
Sid will have your presentation. Sid, you have his presentation other than not on this packet, like you can just email it to me separately.
Absolutely. No problem.
And I'd be happy to help with any of the federal programs. One of our other clients in the business is, in our business, is the Universal Service Administrative Company, USAC, that administrates all the Universal Service Fund programs for the FCC. So we're pretty familiar with the programs.
We don't have to take any motion, do we?
You would just authorize the release of the request for proposals to go out on the 25th of August, and it would be, responses would be due back November 10th.
Could I looked through this proposal, and the only thing that I see in here that kind of troubles me a little bit is we don't have a option for a design build where we could take a company or a corporation that would actually be the design firm and the installation firm. There are quite a few companies out there that offer those type services, and by bundling those two services, we may be able to save a little bit of money from the engineering and installation. So I would ask that we see if there are any design build funds out there. I want to make sure that we're asking for the 144 strand, 72 pair.
Yeah.
That's in there. I thought it was. I didn't see anywhere where it discussed rights of way. Who is responsible for getting?
We're working on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would think it would fall back on the county since the county owned it, but I just didn't see anything in the proposal.
Yeah, in the sections where we talk about what the county can bring to the table, we talked about rights of way and easements in there on county-owned property. Chances are we're going to be looking at some of the route depending on for the build. Particularly when you come off the major highways, we'll probably be negotiating with some individual landowners along those routes. So it's in there right now as kind of a county responsibility.
Okay.
So we'll deal with that as it comes. The design build, Commissioner Kendrick will put something in there to make sure that vendors understand that they can come with an option that is design, build, and operate.
Okay. And just for my knowledge, or I'm sure it wouldn't be in the RFP, but in the final contract, we have the opportunity to put performance measures inside the contract because even though you've got the guidelines that a company has to have been in business for 5 years and all of the other things that go along with it, there are still some corporations out there that once they get the bid, they've got so much work that they put some things on the back burner. So I would want to make sure that in the end that we had some performance measures that they would have to meet.
The way we're handling that in the RFP is if you look at the scoring rubric, I think the plans for moving forward is about 20% of the scoring rubric. And what I would recommend that we do is take whatever timeline that they give us in their RFP proposal, make that part of the final contract. That's pretty typical for the industry, with some penalties in there if they can't meet that timeline.
All right, any more? We need a motion?
So a motion to issue the RFP as proposed with
All
the
in favor,
changes.
say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank
Good
you.
comments, though.
Thank you.
All right, we got some committee appointments. Brenda?
Yes, sir. I'd like to present to you applications we have received for current vacancies on boards and committees. Sheriff Jones has requested to replace his representative on the Animal Services Advisory Committee. He would like to have Deputy Sheriff K-9 Officer Benjamin Massey serve in that capacity. Also, the Animal Services Director, Ron Shaw, has requested a new representation for the Animal Cruelty Investigator, Mr. Bobby Mangum, who has just attained that certification last week. And then also on the Workforce Development Board, we have Ms. Deborah Harlow, Dean at the PCC for Adult Basic Skills Program, is requesting reappointment on the Workforce Development Board in that capacity, representing adult education.
All right. Anybody wanna,
Move for approval.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, I don't have any report. Heidi, you got a?
I was just going to remind you that the Economic Development Commission meets this Thursday at 8 a.m. in the tax office. That's all I had.
All right. Any commissioners got anything you want to
Got a
bring up?
question.
Yes.
Yeah.
How much, with this solid waste announcement, how much material is fixing to be released to the public? How much is still considered in closed session material?
My understanding it's all public record, is it not?
As of now, everything's public record.
Okay.
They want
It's
to
being printed.
say that DSS, we have over 94 children now in foster care. And we need anybody that's interested in being a foster home or applying, please go up to DSS because we do not have enough here in Preston County. We're sending some kids out of the county right now. And it's due to a huge substance abuse problem that we're not only seeing here in Preston County, but we heard all about it last week, that it is not only nationwide, but definitely statewide with opiates. And a lot of counties, we heard from the Secretary of DHHS last week, and I think they're going to try to come out with some state-type programs to help with reunification with some of these children to these homes. And I will say now, it's not always our decision to take a child out of home. We may decide to just visit, make several home visits within a month and stuff like that to see what's going on. But judges are ordering for us to take them out of home. So just want to make you aware that we had a very big increase in our Child Protective Services cases that were reported, which takes a lot of time for staff to investigate those. And then once they're substantiated, or either the judge orders that child to come out of the home, then that puts a lot of pressure on all our foster care staff. And so I just wanted to make it known I appreciate what they do for the children here in Preston County. And we hope not, but we may be coming to you with some needs later on, if this, because we've never had this many children before in foster care in Preston County.
Anybody got anything else?
I needed to bring up that the senior center is having a forum on aging. The first forum will be tomorrow at
10:30 a.m. at the senior center.
and then a following one on September the 22nd.
At 6 p.m. at the senior center. And we're creating a 5-year aging services plan for the county with CARTAR, Area Agency on Aging.
Thank you. I left my paper at home.
All right, Heidi, the documents for the public hearing will be available when?
The announcement is ready now, and it will appear in the legal ad in the paper on Wednesday. Is that what you're referring to?
All right, now, how about the details of the negotiation, the public?
I believe the attorney said that could be released at this point. I don't have that in official form, the actual document, but I can seek to get that if you would like to
If you would,
release that.
make sure that Francis and Betty get a copy of that. All right, I need a motion to go into a closed session for consider acquisition or lease of real property with the following people: Heidi York, Brenda Reeves, and I would like to include Maynell Harper.
Move for approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank y'all for coming.
Take a 2-minute break.